Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Today we are in Cherbourg on the north coast of France. I have quite low expectations about this port, as I've read many reviews about it being boring or a wasted port. I always try to go into things with an open mind though and make my own decision. There were lots of tours organised by MSC going to the Normandy landing beaches or to the Bayeux Tapestry, both of which I would love to visit again, but as I'm on my own today I wanted to stay relatively near to the ship. I'm going to be visiting the Cite de la Mer, which is one of the main attractions in Cherbourg. The City of the Sea is a maritime museum and aquarium, and also home to a decommissioned nuclear submarine. I'm also going to take a bit of a mooch around town today and see what there is to see. By the end of this video I'll tell you what I think is the best way to spend a day in Cherbourg without travelling outside the town. The ship docked at the very modern cruise terminal, which was some 15 minutes walk into the centre of Cherbourg. The walk to the Cité de la Mer was only 5 minutes, and you could easily see it from the ship. The museum has four main parts. First is a nuclear submarine named Redoubtable. The second is a Titanic Exhibition. There is also the Great Gallery of Men and Machines, submarines that have changed the course of history. Finally, there's an aquarium which is called the Ocean of the Future. So you're going to go through and have a look at the submarine first, I think. Entry to the museum was €19 for adults and €14 for children between 5 and 17. Children under 5 will not be able to visit the submarine itself for safety reasons, but they are able to visit the rest of the museum. The museum is either open from 9:30 till 6 or 10 till 6, and I'd recommend that you check the website before you visit. I arrived at the museum a few minutes before it opened, and as usual, the museum was quietest for the first couple of hours, so I'd really recommend you make the effort to visit as soon as it opens. Le Redoubtable was commissioned in 1971 and finally decommissioned in 1991. It completed 90,000 hours of diving and travelled some 790,000 miles, which is equivalent to 32 times round the Earth. In the year 2000, the boat was removed from the water and it was put into the dry dock that you see it in today. One of the most significant parts of this work was to remove the nuclear reactor, which was replaced with a steel tube. That's what you see in this area here, where the nuclear reactor would have been. One of the things that made the experience of visiting the submarine feel more realistic was that they played the sounds that you might have heard at depth. Sometimes it was the noise of the engines or machinery, and other times the sounds of the crew either working or relaxing. There were 15 officers and 120 sailors who made their home on board the submarine. This long corridor felt like it traversed the whole length of the submarine. It seemed to go on forever. This has the missile firing panel. And this is the helm where the submarine would have been steered from. And here's the attack periscope. This area is the captain's bunk, and relatively spacious considering that space is at such a premium on a submarine. Somewhere to have your shower. It's not very luxurious. Oh, and of course time for a loo review. This is the officer's galley. You can't really see very clearly here, but this is an espresso machine. Essential. It's very compact, as you'd expect. This area is the officer's mess. Notice the cocktail shaker and fine crystal glassware. I think that one of the most interesting things about visiting somewhere like this is imagining what it actually would have been like to live underwater for such an extended amount of time. You would definitely need some of those home comforts. These are going to be a little bit tricky to navigate, I think. I'm going to be sensible and descend these backwards like a ladder. This area is the general crew mess. Notice that they also have an espresso machine here. Good to see that the home comforts were not just for the officers. Here you can see through into the main galley area. I was quite surprised how big this was, again considering it was for a submarine. This was more what I was expecting in terms of where people would sleep. And here's the torpedo area. This cutaway section allows you to see both the interior and exterior hull. This area will be used as a ballast tank to control the ascent and descent of the submarine. You only really get a sense of the scale of this beast from when you're actually underneath it. It's absolutely enormous. So just as you either come on or get off from looking around the submarine, there's this area which is interactive. It's got all more information about the submarine.
Indicators that will enable you to navigate. In the center of the control panel in front of you is the tiller.
So actually this was really cool. So you could basically navigate using this submarine. Turns out I was not very good at navigating a submarine. It was fun, really interactive. This part of the museum was a lot more interactive than the submarine itself, including some simulation activities that you could enjoy. I think it would be suitable for kids of all ages and also for adults, so enough to keep everyone entertained. Just about to visit another Titanic exhibition, and we're literally right next to the ship. Not really sure how appropriate that is. If you've already seen our Ireland, Iceland and Greenland series, you'll know that we visited the Titanic Museum in Cove. Check out this link if you haven't yet seen that video. Titanic stopped at Cherbourg on her penultimate stop before sailing on to Cove. 142 first class, 30 second class and 102 third class passengers boarded by tender. I found the exhibition interesting for a short visit, but it didn't quite grab me in the same way the museum in Cove did. There was a relatively small number of Titanic artefacts to be seen. The Ocean of the Future is the aquarium part of the museum. I was really impressed with some of the interactive elements, which were different to anything I'd seen in other aquariums that we visited, including our absolute favourite, Ripley's Aquarium in Toronto. There were a lot of children of all ages, including school trips, visiting the museum, and they all seemed engaged with the various different elements. So I'm just going to pop down into the abyss apparently. There was lots of information in the museum about scuba diving and the various different methods that they've used over the years. It was so cool that they had these places that you could just sit down and spend time looking at the fish. I find there's something strangely hypnotic about watching the jellyfish. I definitely wouldn't want to come across one when I was swimming in the sea though. This octopus was also fascinating to me. Octopus are such intelligent creatures, and I feel like this one had something slightly elephantine about it. I really enjoyed my visit to the aquarium. As you exit the aquarium, you walk back through into what is now the exhibition hall and a fine example of the Art Deco style. This building is stunning and was previously used as a railway station and for passengers to board ocean liners in the port of Cherbourg. There is a cafe here which I didn't have time to visit on this trip. Many of the submarines in this exhibition have explored the Titanic. I've been particularly interested in this since the accident involving the Titan submersible on its trip to Titanic. I have to say that that was a thoroughly enjoyable visit. I think I stayed for about a couple of hours in the end and then decided that it was time to go and have a look around somewhere else. So I think I'm going to try and walk into Cherbourg itself, have a look at the church. I arrived at the Cité de la Mer at probably about 10 to 10, which was just before it opens at 10. So some days it opens at 9:30, other days it opens at 10. So I just had to check on their website. But it was definitely worth getting there as soon as it opened because it's got a lot busier now. The walk into the centre of Cherbourg is quite a flat and paved walk. I've seen a couple of people with wheelchairs and also lots of people with buggies. So I think it's reasonably accessible compared to some places. not too far away from the port at all, there's this large Carrefour supermarket. So that just be worth bearing in mind if you're looking for somewhere to stock up on a few bits and pieces. So it's Thursday today and it must be market day. Wowzers. This cheese smells so good. Market days in Cherbourg are generally Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday from 9 till 1. That is at the time of making this video in October 2024. This is what France is all about for me. Fresh produce. Wow, these are very large radishes. If you happen to be visiting on a Sunday, you may find that a lot of the shops are closed or close early, so it's worth bearing this in mind when planning your visit. There was a really nice atmosphere in this buzzing marketplace. Lots of cruise passengers mingled with locals as they either explored the market or took a few minutes to sit and have a coffee or something stronger and enjoyed the unseasonably warm October weather. I hope you're enjoying this video and getting some ideas about how to spend your port day in Cherbourg. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to see the rest of the videos in this series, including my thoughts about the yacht club, the luxury ship within a ship experience on board MSC Virtuosa. Every single like and subscriber makes a real difference for us and helps to ensure we can keep making this content and helping as many people as possible. Gonna have a look at some of these amazing fish. Wow. Absolutely stunning. Look at this absolutely beautiful old theatre building. Stunning. I'm so impressed with Cherbourg. I was not expecting it to be as nice as it is. The theatre was opened in 1882 and is built in the Italian style. It took about 2 years to construct. It's known as the Golden Theatre due to the inordinate cost of construction. It is possible to go on a tour of the theatre, but the tickets are very limited, which is a shame, as the interior looks stunning in the photos I found online when I got home. There's also a Carrefour city just right in the centre of the town. I decided to take a walk up to the church, which is about 25 minutes walk from the cruise terminal or 10 minutes walk from the marketplace where I'd been previously. The building of this church started in 1850 and it wasn't entirely completed until 1878. In the history of the church, it says that it was actually 3 priests who were the builders, and it took them 15 years to build the main walls and to furnish the church. The church was badly damaged in the Second World War, and restoration took some 7 years to complete. There was further damage in the storm of October 1987, which also caused significant damage to buildings in the UK. I remember it well, as it was the last time we had a hurricane in the UK, and it caused a lot of damage, and we were without power for at least a couple of days. Parts of the bell tower fell into the parked cars below. It was a very special visit for me, as for most of my time there I was the only person inside the church. I took the opportunity to light a candle. The modern and spectacular stained glass windows were added in 1950. On my way back to the cruise terminal, I came across this horse-drawn carriage ride. They take you on a tour around the town lasting about half an hour. I'm not sure how much it costs. Perhaps you could let me know in the comments if you happen to know, and also whether you enjoyed the tour. I thought the harbour area was really pretty, and it made for a nice walk back towards the ship. It was funny to come across this old British phone box on the way back to the port. Apparently it was gifted to Cherbourg by the people of Poole. There was no phone in it. After we arrived this morning, this Stena Line ferry from Rosslare in the Republic of Ireland had sneaked in behind us. You can see from the bridge cam just quite how close it is behind us. I don't think I've ever seen a bridge cam that actually showing the aft of a ship before. Have you ever seen one? Let me know in the comments. It still amazes me how they manage to manoeuvre these giant beasts with such dexterity and without mishap. I watched from my balcony as a Stena Vision passed us by, and you can tell from the video quite how close this ferry is to the cruise ship. As I said at the start of the video, I had quite low expectations about what the day in Cherbourg would be like, and I think sometimes that's when you have your best port day. You're just not expecting it to be great, and then it turns out to be really good. I really enjoyed visiting the Cite de la Mer, and I think there's something to keep all ages entertained there. If you're reasonably mobile and the weather is good, I would definitely suggest walking from the cruise terminal into the centre of Cherbourg rather than going for the shuttle bus. There are lots of places where you could stock up on goodies to take back to the ship or to take home as souvenirs. Although there was the influx of people from the cruise ship, it didn't really feel busy in any of the places I visited. As I always say, it's worth making the effort to get off the ship fairly early. We quite often struggle with that when travelling as a family, so it seemed much easier when I was on my own. I know not everyone is interested in looking at churches, especially younger travellers, but for me that was the highlight of my day on land. There's so much history, and you can also learn a lot about a place by learning about its history. I also loved visiting the market, and the only thing I always feel is a bit disappointing is not being able to buy food from the market and cook it yourself. I think that's the case whether you're cruising or staying in a hotel, so it's only really if you've got an apartment or something that you can do that. The other thing that made the day special was that it was a super moon, and I was able to get some great photos and video of the moon lighting up the water. Things like that which make cruising special for me. You just get a better view from at sea that you wouldn't get on land. The next port on my cruise is Zeebrugge, and future me accidentally ended up in Bruges. So do check that video out, and remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our future adventures. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.